getting cast in Star Wars wasn't always dramatic auditions and instant celebration. Some actors were at temp jobs, some were broke, some didn't even know what role they had. These are the real, unexpected moments when Star Wars finally became real. Harrison Ford didn't even show up to audition for Star Wars. At the time casting was happening, Ford was working as a carpenter and fixing up an office when he crossed paths with George Lucas. Nothing came of it until a casting agent suggested Ford simply stand in as Han Solo for other actors auditioning. His job was to read lines opposite them, nothing more. He ended up reading scenes with over 100 hopefuls. Somewhere along the way, his performance stood out so much that he landed on the shortlist and was eventually asked if he wanted the role. He agreed, just like that. Carrie Fisher found out she was cast as Princess Leia in a moment that felt unreal, even by Hollywood standards. When her agent called to confirm she got the role, Fisher reacted instantly. She laughed, dropped the phone, and ran straight out of the house and into the street. It was raining in Los Angeles, something rare enough to make the moment feel even bigger. She danced outside while the rain came down, fully realizing she was about to play Princess Leia. That was the exact moment the Star Wars casting became real for her. Oscar Isaac didn't get cast in Star Wars through a normal audition call. Instead, he was flown to Paris to meet the director at a famous coffee shop. Over coffee, he was told the entire story of the film and exactly what the role would be. Even with all the details laid out, Isaac wasn't immediately convinced about playing the pilot Poe Dameron and needed time to think it over. After a few days, he agreed to join the film. The role came not from chasing the franchise, but from a personal conversation that sealed the deal. Natalie Portman found out she was cast in Star Wars without even knowing what Star Wars really was. When she was offered the role of Queen Amidala, Portman had never seen the original films and wasn't chasing the part.
I hadn't seen the films until it was offered to me, so I really wasn't aware of what Star Wars was at all.
Her casting followed a routine process. She met with the casting director, then met George Lucas, talked with him, and later learned she got the role. The offer didn't come with instant excitement. Instead, she took weeks to think it over, knowing the commitment meant signing on for 3 films and dedicating many years of her life to acting at a very young age.
It took me a few weeks to decide about doing this film because it's a huge commitment to sign on for 3 films when you're 14.
Laura Dern didn't even realize she was being offered Star Wars at first. She went to lunch thinking she was hearing a metaphorical pitch about leadership and space, not an actual role in the franchise she'd loved since childhood.
When I was a little girl, about 2 blocks from here at the Cinerama Dome was the first time I ever waited in line to see a movie, being Star Wars.
The reality only hit later, and it hit hard. When she finally arrived on set and cameras rolled, she found herself face to face with C-3PO. That moment overwhelmed her so completely that she started to cry.
I got to set and they rolled camera and I opened my eyes and they called action and I was staring at C-3PO. And I started to cry.
Meeting Chewbacca had the same effect. Being in Star Wars wasn't just a job. It unlocked childhood memories she couldn't hold back. Samuel L. Jackson agreed to be in Star Wars without knowing what role he was getting. When he first met George Lucas, there wasn't even a finished script, and Jackson made it clear he was happy to play anything at all, even a stormtrooper running across the screen.
I'm like, look, just make me a stormtrooper. Yeah. I just want to run across screen. Nobody even needs to know.
Months later, he got a call saying Lucas was shooting in London and flew out without seeing a script. It wasn't until he arrived for a costume fitting and was handed the robes that he found out he wasn't just in the movie, he was playing a Jedi. Felicity Jones found out she was joining Star Wars and immediately knew her life was about to change physically. After being introduced to the role of Jyn Erso by her agent, Jones realized she wasn't prepared for the demands of a battle-ready rebel. Her first reaction was the need for intense fitness and fight training, which led her straight into serious preparation, including learning Kung Fu. The secrecy surrounding the project made it even more surreal, with an early morning meeting to discuss the film. Even after taking the role, it took time for the scale of Star Wars to fully sink in. Adam Driver didn't realize he was truly in Star Wars until months after being offered the role. While working on a TV series, he got a call asking if he wanted to meet the director and talk about Star Wars. There was no audition, just a meeting, with almost no details about the character. After months of waiting and scheduling discussions, the reality still hadn't sunk in. It finally hit during his first costume fitting, surrounded by familiar designs and characters. That was the moment he understood this wasn't just another film, this was Star Wars. Mark Hamill didn't find out he was cast in Star Wars during a dramatic, desperate moment. Despite the popular myth, Hamill wasn't crashing on a friend's couch or waiting for a miracle to save his career. He already had his own one-bedroom apartment in Malibu, and his agent had arranged the audition for him. The casting process itself was surprisingly ordinary. He went through standard auditions just like everyone else, starting with a shared casting call for another film. After callbacks and a screen test alongside Harrison Ford, the role that would define his career came from persistence, not a fairy tale discovery. Daisy Ridley felt she would be cast in Star Wars before she ever auditioned. While walking down the street with friends, she heard that a new Star Wars film was happening, and her entire body went tingly. In that moment, she believed she would get a part. Months later, the auditions actually began, and it took 5 separate auditions with the director before anything was decided. She officially found out outside a London theater, spotting a voicemail and scrambling to return the call. When she finally got through, she learned she would be in Star Wars, then quietly went back inside without telling anyone. John Boyega found out he was cast in Star Wars after spending every last bit of money he had. Right after being offered the role of Finn, he was asked to meet the director in Mayfair while he was stuck across London. He took a cab anyway, draining his entire debit card just to get there. In central London, he learned he got the part, but had no money left to get home. The moment brought relief more than celebration, ending months of non-stop auditions and stress. Back home, the news landed so unexpectedly that even his dad asked what Star Wars was. Donald Gleason found out he was cast in Star Wars just one day before a major table read, and the timing almost made him hesitate. He learned he'd landed the role of General Hux right before the cast gathered together, after meeting with the director and writer who explained the character's drive for power and a key speech. While the role excited him, the fame that came with Star Wars gave him pause. He worried it could interfere with how he lived his life. The attention did surge for a while, but eventually settled down. Kelly Marie Tran found out she was cast in Star Wars in the middle of a completely normal workday. While juggling a full-time temp job, auditions, and late nights writing comedy sketches, she couldn't afford to quit working during the 5-month audition process. On the day everything changed, she met the director during her lunch break. That's when she learned she'd landed the role of Rose Tico. Then she did the unthinkable. She went straight back to her desk. She answered phones and emails like nothing had happened, carrying one of the biggest moments of her life in total silence. Gwendolyn Christie had wanted to be in Star Wars for most of her life, but even after being cast, it didn't fully feel real at first. She pushed her representatives relentlessly once she heard the films were returning, and after a long, slow process, interest finally turned into a role. The reality only truly set in much later. When she put on Captain Phasma's metal armor and cape for the first time, everything clicked. That physical moment, standing in full armor, was when it finally hit her that she wasn't just a fan anymore. She was part of Star Wars.